Hi, everybody. This is 1,134 days since Richard vanished from the barracks. From the barracks there on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. How do soldiers just mysteriously disappear from the barracks? It just doesn't happen. Um, so we've been, way over 1,134 days now. Um, trying to get answers. Now, like I said yesterday, I want to make it really clear that Richard's case started way before the 1,134 days. Um, it started back when he took courses at Park University, when he went to deploy to Qatar, when he saw things and he started saying to us, um, it's really bad. It's really bad. Remember, that happened in Qatar. That was after he took courses there at Park. And, we've put in a request for Richard's academic records, and, it's been a silence. So we need to remind them um, to that we absolutely have the right to his academic records under FERPA, under the emergency part of FERPA, and that will reveal a lot to us. Um, and we knew what was going on, but we would like his academic records to prove it because there is intel that says he was an intern when he came back from Qatar, an intern with the CID. And, I just, I'm just thinking back at, everything that he was saying to us and his attitude. And I was just protecting, I think, our relationship. Because, when your son is saying, look, things are really bad and I don't want to talk about it, um, you don't want to say, I told you so, when, because I really did not want Richard to join the military. Um, and I was trying to be really sensitive to his feelings and supportive. Um, and he was like, I don't want to talk about, we'll talk about anything, but not about the military. And I sure wasn't going to say, I told you so. Um, so I just, I look back, Rob and I look back, and all we can really say to everybody is that he gave us every indication that all his aspirations that he had after basic training in AIT, that once he got to El Paso, once he got to Fort Bliss, once he got into Fort Bliss, once he got into the unit, once he got to Park University. This is a very, very big development in this case because um, Park University absolutely plays a huge role in this, and they can help. They can absolutely help. Um, so once he got there, his attitude changed drastically, drastically from, um, no, I'm not liking what I'm seeing at Park University. I have to report wrongdoings there. I'm not liking what I'm seeing in my unit. I have to report things there. I'm not liking what I'm seeing in CID. I have to report things there. And those reports, of course, um, created the IG all over the barracks because of Halliday. And he went to the CPS. He went to the CPS, the Child Protective Services. So, absolutely whistleblower, big whistleblower, huge whistleblower. And Command Sergeant Major Jake Jakovitz, even in our dinner together, even in the dinner that we treated them to dinner. They didn't tell us that he was a whistleblower. And absolutely, Command Sergeant Major knew that Richard was a whistleblower. And don't forget that he even said to Team Find Richard Halliday, I didn't even know I had a missing soldier in my rolls. Um, yeah, maybe because you knew you had a murdered soldier, not a missing soldier. Maybe. I'm just saying, sorry. I apologize. Sorry. That was just me thinking out loud because of, thinking back and seeing how they handled this case. Um, but, God has a reason for all things. And we have been on this journey to slowly uncover all the evidence. And we have so much evidence, y'all. We have so much evidence, from phone records to GPS to screenshots to letters to now we have very good news today. Miss Amy Snoddy's office uh, responded, and we are in the process of receiving the financials. The financials that Governor Greg Abbott's office approved of to send to El Paso to investigate Richard's case, and that will reveal a lot, and that is institutional support, right? That's institutional support from about the monies, about following the monies. So that's huge evidence for us. Um, and with all of the phone and um, the screenshots and the meetings and the testimonies and the CCTV footage and that we have gathered as the chief investigators of our son's case, and do not believe anything else except for what I'm telling you in over and over and over again. Anyone paying attention, the CID and Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe and his group asked us, CID all over the place, asked us to investigate, asked us to bring them leads over and over again. And I have live stream after live stream after live stream, recording, telling everybody day in and day out about our meetings from the very beginning, these meetings that they asked us to be the chief investigators for our son's case, because they couldn't do anything unless we brought them leads and we brought them information. And I'm talking about even until now. So um, anybody that says nobody ever asked you to be a chief investigator, they don't know what they're talking about, because absolutely we have so much evidence. And evidence with this institutional support that we're getting now from let's not forget, this is huge news, a very brave soldier, active duty, Fort Bliss, requesting a congressional inquiry from Veronica Escobar, Representative Veronica Escobar, who I know she doesn't care for me, probably personally, because I um ditto, right? Or let's I mean it's reciprocal. But this is not about who likes who. That's childish. I do think that she could have done things early on. Absolutely. I feel I'm 100% right in that. She could have wielded her power to help us end this misery, and absolutely revealed Richard's phone, Richard's car, Richard's WhatsApp data, um, Richard's Google data, um, also this tactical move storage unit, also the GPS data, on the white van, the 2004 white van that is a Pontiac, Montana that has, we have the a C license plate starts with a C. It's very interesting. And she could help us um, with Judge Robert Shook's information, the probable cause affidavits for the warrants, the lack of warrant to search our home with a assault unit, assault group unit from the fugitive apprehension unit of the sheriff's office in Sarasota, Florida. She could absolutely help us to to clarify the autopsy reports that we received that claim to have identified Richard Halliday's partial and fragmented remains, and labeled him a homicide, labeled him murdered. Um, Also, she could absolutely help us find all these designations that we're getting to verify them or deny them. The died while missing, and the homicide, and the deceased, and um, so uh, these all of this information that we're getting, we should have official responses to, and she could have helped us do that much earlier. But now, with this active duty Army soldier from Fort Bliss, that has a lot of weight, more weight than if I would request or any other civilian would request for a congressional, because he has a chain of command. And the Army, the military is very different than the civilian world. He has a chain of command, and the chain of command is obligated to care for their soldiers. They are our most valuable assets, and they are our volunteer sons and daughters. And so they have a huge obligation to their soldiers. And when a active duty soldier requests a congressional inquiry, that means that their chain of command has let them down, that their chain of command is botched, that there's something very wrong in the chain of command, which means that other soldiers are at risk, that other soldiers are at risk, which also means that there is a risk to our country if the chain of command is botched. And we're talking about General McConville here, General Mealy here. We're talking about General Garrett in our case. We're talking about Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. We're talking about Hawaii. We're talking about Hawaii, the chain of command in Hawaii. In Lalani's case, So this is very, very serious when the chain of command does not respond to the claims of a soldier. In this case, the JAG. So the JAG, what the soldier is claiming is that we are at risk if they're not going to look for Richard, if they're not going to answer simple questions about Richard's case, if they're going to block concerns through the JAG office, which is a judicial office for the military, then there is something very, very wrong. And then if the chain of command, if his leadership is not caring, is not doing anything about this, and we know that this is with Asia Graham, right? That her captain, this is what I was told, right, from her family, that Asia, when she whistle blew, the captain put her rapist 2 doors down from her. That was the retaliation and more. So we know that our country is at risk if our leadership is botched, right? If our leadership is not doing what they're supposed to be doing in the military. So this is why this soldier's request for a congressional is so, so important because it is a national security threat issue. Okay, that's why they have special privileges as going to the front of the line with their congressional inquiry requests. And that's why Representative Veronica Escobar needs to take it very seriously. And that's why we are asking everyone out there that is listening to these live streams to write Veronica Escobar. It doesn't matter if she likes me, it doesn't matter at all. This is a national security risk, and she needs to follow through with it. And at the end of the day, maybe she has gotten bad intel, right? Maybe she's gotten bad intel about our son. Of course, the MPs got bad intel. The intelligence, the law enforcement agencies, so many of them got bad intel on Richard. We know that now. We know that because of Thomas Kaine's letter. And we know that because even our key witness was, there was bad intel from Leilani Hart giving bad intel and allowed to do that um, from who? From who? Who was behind her? And that's a really good question. Who was behind Leilani Hart going to Miss Kacherga at El Paso Matters? Who was behind her? And Poche, Mr. Poche, remember? So the two of them and Mr. Poche could absolutely tell us who was behind organizing the interview with El Paso Matters and getting Miss Kacherga to put that false information out. And then I'll take it a step further because, and we responded to Miss Kacherga right away. Um, we have a team find Richard Halliday. I was born at White Sands. I went to school in El Paso. So I absolutely have Team Find Richard Halliday there. And so when I found out about this article, Rob and I contacted Miss Kacherga right away and said, wait a minute, you're interfering in our son's case by taking someone the likes of Leilani Hart and giving her undeserved credibility to block a key witness, to smear a key witness in our son's case. Very, very dangerous. Very dangerous to so many other people. So many other people have the risk of getting hurt because of what Miss Kacherga did, what El Paso Matters did by letting Leilani Hart continue with her false allegations. And so, but how did Leilani Hart get to the point where she could interfere in a missing soldier's case on Fort Bliss? How did she, and more, y'all? I just want to say it's more, it's worse. But how did she get to do that when she has, and this is another huge fault and complaint that I have with Miss Kacherga and El Paso Matters, Bob Moore. Bob Moore, you have a problem. You have a problem with Miss Kacherga. You have a real problem with your reporters there, KTEP and El Paso Matters. Bob Moore, pay attention because you can lose your tax-free status. It seems like a political attack dog now. It has grabbed onto your media. What he owns it, his company, his media company. So, but what allowed Leilani Hart? She has this huge criminal history. I mean, even her family did not warn Miss Kacherga, and they had filed cases against Lalani. Yes, James Hart filed cases against Lalani, and the children did for domestic abuse. And but it doesn't stop there. There's all of these active duty soldiers in Hawaii that were targeted by Lalani Hart and had to suffer. Uh, and I can tell you, she makes you suffer. She's dangerous. She's absolutely dangerous. And there are so many people that have said this in their statements, in their court statements, um, in their complaints, right? So many there in Hawaii. Who was the general there? Who was the JAG? Who was the. I mean, she was active duty. She was active duty when she was hurting other soldiers, okay? She was active duty while she's trying to destroy her own soldiers. All right? Meaning, the same side. It's not like she's at war and she's trying to destroy the enemy. No, she's destroying her own. She's weakening army readiness. She's on an army base and she is destroying the esprit de corps on the army base. She's destroying the army of one. She's destroying the be all you can be. She's destroying army readiness. And people have reported this, reported this, reported this. And what did the general do? Doesn't he care about army readiness? Doesn't he care about the Medal of Honor ethos and the esprit de corps? I mean, who was leading Hawaii at the time? Who was the general? And this is something I need to find out because, essentially, I mean, really, he is responsible for all the damage that she has been allowed to do and then to continue to do at Fort Bliss, right? To destroy the harmony, to destroy the esprit de corps, the army of one, to destroy the morale on the army base, and then be allowed to do that again at Fort Bliss. This is a national security threat. She needs to be arrested. She's already been arrested. She needs to be arrested for false information given to the media, used in the JAG, right? Used in the JAG, which is a federal. This is a federal crime. Okay, when you are lying to the JAG, this is a federal crime. So she's lying to the media, lying to JAG, and it all starts with a general not doing his duty at the Hawaiian base. What is it called? There in Hawaii, where she was at, that she was allowed to destroy that community, that military, that army community, while she was active duty. All right. And how does that happen? Forgive me, but I have to make this comparison because Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, with his SJA, how did this happen? That they were telling me that telling Rob and I, that Richard could get 6 years in prison for something that he never even pleaded guilty for. He was just accused. And I think it was a setup. Okay, I think it was part of the retaliation. That's my opinion. Because of in the parking lot, but he never pleaded guilty. And it was dismissed. And for that, they're telling me that, and my son, and my husband, that our son could get 6 years in prison for nothing? For nothing. Distinguished honor graduate. Was Leilani the distinguished honor graduate? Was she the guidon bearer? I would like to know. I would like to know what she contributed when she was active duty military. Because what I know from her is she contributed chaos, chaos and crime, chaos and crime, and absolutely the destruction of esprit de corps, morale, army of one, you name it. She was destroying lives, and she gets protection and gets to continue doing it, whereas Richard is a distinguished honor graduate from basic training in AIT, the guidon bearer, combat lifesaver, and on an accusation he is totally retaliated against with a permanent GOMAR and a field grade Article 15 with maximum punishment and then some added to it, and that which is illegal too. That means taking away 3 ranks, 50% of his pay. For what? For nothing. And to have the retaliation of being murdered, of being dismembered. I don't I just, tell me how Hawaii did all of this, right? Did she know somebody? So I just think, I hope that Major General Eisenhower does not fall for this, um what do you call it, this manipulation, right? Like Kacherga fell for it. I hope he doesn't fall for it. So because the institutional support that we are now getting by Representative Veronica Escobar responding to the request immediately responding to the request for a congressional inquiry by Ms. Snoddy, responding to the financial open records request that we had on what the allocation of funds were to our son's case. Those kind of institutional supports will just go a huge way of, with the evidence that we do have now, to accountability. Because remember, institutional support plus evidence equals accountability. And so that's good news here. So please join us in, because our institutions, for that institutional support, right, that needs to be driven. Just like we have been made the chief investigators of our son's case, the institutional support needs to be driven by all of us. And I think it's even a duty, to oversee really our institutions, to not trust them to do what is good and right, but to drive them to do what is good and right. And so we need to do that. And the way you can do that is to write Veronica Escobar to support this active duty Fort Bliss soldier in his request for a congressional inquiry. You can also write Senator Ted Cruz, which was copied on that request for a congressional inquiry. And you can also write Major General James Eisenhower, the commanding general of Fort Bliss, to ask him to realize what Leilani Hart is doing with the JAG there on Fort Bliss, and the risk to national security and every life there on the base, every service member and their families, and out of the community, right? And so this is really, really important if you can write them. Also, to show the active duty soldier our support. And I know people, I heard today, whistleblowers are at risk. that is the riskiest place to be right now. To be a whistleblower, to be an activist for righteousness' sake is the riskiest place to be, right? And so we need to, we, our daughter Allison, she put together this petition to show support to this active duty Fort Bliss soldier. Okay, to put it together, and I just hope that everybody signs it and that they don't stop there. Go the extra mile. It doesn't take that much time. And we're talking about a national security emergency, a true one, a true one. If you could have only heard the witness testimonies that I have heard about the damage that Leilani Hart has left in her wake there at Hawaii. And I know that the focus is on Maui and that destruction, but we don't want any destruction. We want answers to Maui, and we want answers to what Leilani Hart was doing to active duty soldiers there in Hawaii. Okay? And I really need to uh, learn the name of where she was stationed. I know I read it. So if anyone has that real quick, it can send me a message. Um, that that destruction is so threatening to our national security. It is an attack on our institution, our military institution, and it's an inside attack. And she just brings chaos and just um, a deliberate want to do harm to active duty soldiers. Okay? A deliberate, which, does that make her an enemy? Right? And she was allowed to do that even with all of the cases. And I read off the cases and I can do it again. Did I mark it off tonight before I came on? I don't think I marked it off in my notes here. But I read off the case numbers yesterday. Go review that. It's very important for you to know case after case. And that's only tip of the iceberg, right? Case after case after case. So I hope that she gets arrested. I really do. I hope she gets arrested for what she's done with the media. And now I do think that Miss Kacherga, that Bob Moore needs to say, hey, lady, why didn't you do a simple, basic background check on Leilani Hart before you went and interfered in the case of a missing soldier? Right? Why didn't you do a basic background check? Because a basic background check would absolutely have put the red flags up for the criminal conviction of Leilani Hart. That makes her non-credible. It's as simple as that. So then Ms. Kacherga then would have made her reporter say, hey, does she have records of an El Paso police report or contacting neighbors or anything to back up what she's saying? Because her credibility is like nothing. Her credibility is zero. Her credibility is damaged goods. And, we need to check to see what she's saying before we interfere in the case, in the investigation of a missing soldier from Fort Bliss. We need to know what we're doing here. And they would have found out that there was nothing, no weight. And they could have done the same thing with Poche. And, no disrespect to Mr. Poche, but this is a little concerning that he's 100% disabled and he's complaining about not having a job. that's a little concerning. And I think that Kocherga forgot about all of her awards, you know, her uh, awards that she got for investigative journalism. She forgot about them. She had a little, um, you know, senior moment or whatever when it came to this reporting here. And yeah, I believe she owes us an apology. I believe that she owes the community there, the Fort Bliss community and the El Paso community, an apology and a retraction, and also to an article to uh, tell everybody, tell the truth about Lalani Hart and Hawaii, and what's going on there, what happened, and the destruction that she left in her wake of so many innocent soldiers. So many. And that she has a history of hurting soldiers. How badly has she hurt soldiers? How badly did she hurt Richard? Okay. So, and lying to law enforcement authorities that she is a convicted criminal for lying to law enforcement authorities. And so now this is a federal offense to lie to the JAG office on Fort Bliss, interfering with the investigation of a missing soldier. This is huge. Absolutely, she needs to be arrested. Absolutely. So we have the evidence. We have now institutional um, institutional support with the soldier, the active duty soldier of Fort Bliss, saying that there's a problem in the JAG office. Okay? We have institutional support with the chief of security of Fort Bliss saying there's absolutely a problem within the JAG office of Fort Bliss, that Fort Bliss is operating outside of of the law by participating in Lalani Hart's uh, allowed continued chaos and reign of destruction from Hawaii into JAG, um, and no investigation, no notification, no investigation, no packet, right? Meaning no investigation, no notification, no due process, no allowing the key witness to defend himself, to have a chance to defend himself. This is an outrage, and she absolutely needs to be arrested. Maybe, yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be taking action now, since we have the institutional support. We have the evidence in all of the case numbers. We have the evidence, and that equals accountability. So we have the institutional support plus the evidence equals accountability. She needs to be arrested. Okay, so that's really good news right now. I think she's done. I think that her reign of terror, her reign of chaos is done. So, uh, you know, please support this soldier that is really, really brave. Um, and he's putting his life at risk. We know that because whistleblowers, this is the riskiest business to be in, is a whistleblower for righteousness. And so we need to support him and back him up. And we can do that by signing the petition, by getting others to sign the petition. It's very, very important. And also those three letters to Veronica Escobar, to uh, General Eisenhower, Major General Eisenhower, and to Senator Ted Cruz. So, yeah, that is big, big news. Also, the Texas Tribune article that I put up yesterday, very big news because, El Paso, Eric, what's his name? Eric Hack. Am I saying it right? Um, Let me see if I have it here. I think it's, yeah, yeah, CW2 Eric Hack. So I did have it right. Um, So CW2 means Chief Warrant Officer. Chief Warrant Officer 2, Eric Hack. He led the El Paso team that allegedly shared classified FBI intelligence. Now, they always say this allegedly because they have to. But I'm going to tell you right now that we have intel that he absolutely is connected, has a connection with Richard Halliday's case. And we absolutely know because of Nadal Bayim that there was an FBI leak, right? An FBI leak of intelligence because Nadal Bayim um, proclaimed himself as FBI with the FBI to the civilian there, the employee of Dollar General in El Paso, and used that position to give orders to take down the flyers of Richard Halliday because the FBI has found Richard and they found him in Juarez and he is dead. And they were looking for him still, meaning, she was very confused with that. But, when you know about the autopsies, when we got that leak or that intel to us, um, because there's leaks, y'all, there's intel being released. When files are being released, okay, unlawfully being released, that is intel breach. That is a security breach. That's very clear. So this CW2 Eric Hack led the El Paso team. A team. A team. This is okay, this is an intelligence officer. See way up. Let me put this on here. See if I can share my screen that I'm reading from. I've had so much trouble. I don't think I can share my screen, y'all. Display right here. Can I do? Yeah. Oh, here it is. Okay. So here it is. Right up here. 4 intelligence officers, this is CID, this is FBI, have faced interim administrative discipline in the debacle's wake. Chief Warrant Officer 2, so that's CW2, Eric Hack, led the El Paso team. The allegedly shared classified FBI intelligence. This is huge, absolutely huge. And absolutely connected to our son's case because it's the intelligence team from El Paso and it's a CW2, it's military, it's Army. Um, uh, is it National Guard? National Guard. It's military. Yeah, it is. They absolutely are connected. And an investigative by Military Times and the Texas Tribune has found that Texas National Guard leaders disbanded Operation Lone Star's intelligence wing after whistleblowers reported that WhatsApp surveillance, which targeted migrant groups to track them through Mexico because they believed it violated long-standing rules against state-run spy operations. During the same period, another team from the Intelligence Directorate allegedly sent classified FBI intelligence to their Texas Guard colleagues in an apparent violation of federal secrecy laws according to the internal incident report. There is a systemic problem with these files. That's intel, y'all. The intel being leaked out. This is a security breach. And this is what this young, um, I shouldn't say young, but this soldier, this active duty soldier on Fort Bliss, what he was saying, that there's a security breach and that the JAG is blocking fraud, waste, and abuse reports. And of course, um, our son's case, he mentions totally. So it is it all is connected together, and this is why as Americans, as Americans, we have to do some due diligence. I know, we pay a lot of taxes. We have $1 trillion military. They should be able to handle it on their own. We have trillions of dollars for our institutions. They should handle it on their own. They should be benevolent. They should do their duty. They should do their sworn duty. They should even swear. Some of them aren't even swearing now. They should do their sworn duty, and they should defend the Constitution, because that's why we pay them, right? That's why we pay them, to defend the Constitution, the land, and the people. But I'm here to tell you right now, uh, they've got too big for their britches, and they forgot why they're there. They forgot. And one of my very favorite movies, and I'm going to share a couple of private things. One of my favorite movies is Seven Samurai. It's an old black and white, the original old black and white movie called The Seven Samurai. And, not the remakes, not the Magnificent Seven. No, this is the old black and white one with the Japanese, um, the faces, the the expressions on the faces. This old black and white movie is just something to see. It's a classic, and it's the feudal system of of Japan, because this is what Europe and Japan have in common. They had this feudal system, and the rise of the feudal system. And what happened is that the samurais, as the years went by, it's kind of like the story of Joseph in the Bible, with uh, the Egyptian pharaoh. He forgot about Joseph. And these samurais, as years went by, now this is not in the movie, but this is the feudal system. As the years went by, these knights that were supposed to be defending the farmers, defending the money, defending the freedom, defending the food production, defending the borders, defending um, against the crime, right? They forgot who they were. They forgot. They forgot why they were there. And that's where we're at right now. Our Congress has forgotten. Our government Washington, D.C. has forgotten why they are there. And it trickles down. It trickles down into our institutions. And so that's why this institutional support is so important, because plus the evidence equals accountability. And I've heard a lot of people watching the news and saying, where's the accountability? No one's doing anything. No one's doing anything, because they do not have the institutional support. They have the evidence, but they don't have the institutional support, and therefore no accountability. Well, I'm here to tell you that when you push and you push and you drive them and you bug them and you write the letters and you let them know that we have the evidence, and you let them know and you let them know again and you let them know a third time and you let them know a fourth time and a fifth time and a sixth time, and you bug them and you do not relent your conviction to drive them to remember that they work for us, that they have a duty that they have to do, whether they like us or not, whether they agree with us or not. They have a duty to us. And this is Veronica Escobar. And this is Senator Cruz. And this is Major General Eisenhower. They cannot forget who they are and who they work for. And, they do not want to be failures like the command in Hawaii that could have prevented this whole mess. And I believe that Richard would be still alive. Because when you have chaos being implemented and that kind of hate and that kind of bullying, like Leilani does, Leilani creates a chaos, an environment that is opposite of esprit de corps, that is opposite of the Good Samaritan, opposite of the Medal of Honor ethos, opposite of wanting to do good in the community. She wants to do harm. She has a history of it. And the only thing I can say to her is confession is the cure of souls. Confession is the cure of souls. And, we need to pray for her. But until then, we cannot let her carry on with her psychopathic course of destruction and hurt other service members. Um, hurt other service members, hurt the El Paso community, hurt Fort Bliss, which is a national security threat. That's my opinion. And it's backed up with a lot of evidence, and now we have institutional support. And that's really good news. And we need more. We need more. If people want accountability, then they need to start writing the letters. Get relentless in holding our institutions accountable for their duty. And so, yeah, so here, that's where we're going to get information about Richard. We have all the evidence. The evidence is there, y'all. The evidence is there. So it is a good day that we heard from Amy Snoddy, because that gives us, well, her office, that gives us more evidence. You see, the following the monies, and there's a lot of talk about war right now. Okay, I'm going to tell you that I think we've been at war. We have apps to me, because I love reading different war strategies and things like that, because of having two sons and trying to get them to love reading, trying to get them to love history. And of course, that's why I love Seven Samurai. I think I'm the only one in my family that really loved that movie. But the war strategies in that movie of Seven Samurai, I don't think that they can be remade like in Magnificent Seven. I really don't. You have to really watch it. It's just an incredible. I'm sure you can watch it on YouTube because it's so old. But it's so fantastic, and I love the Siege of Malta. Absolutely love Ernley Bradford's book, The Siege of Malta. It is a small little book. You can read it in an evening. It is magnificent. Uh, with the Janissaries to understand the asymmetric warfare tactics, the military operations, and because of that, and I love Byzantium. I love the Balisaros, General Balisaros in Justinian's general. and his tactics, what they went through um, with the barbarians to preserve Byzantium, Constantinople, today's Istanbul. I love to read that. And I think that that helped me with this case because I could recognize the asymmetric warfare tactics they were using against us, the military operations that they were using against us. I could recognize the manipulation and even working behind our backs. Even working behind our backs, I'll never forget that with Corinne Adeline. People calling and saying, "Hey, this lady's calling us saying that you're hiding Richard," and I'm like, "What? What? No, I'm not hiding. I wish I was hiding Richard, but I'm because then I would know where he's at. But and then he would be alive. But so this kind of evil manipulation, asymmetric warfare tactics. Look, our liaison, our casualty assistance officer, our first one, was an asymmetric warfare officer. He was the commander. I believe he was the commander for the asymmetric warfare group there in that area. I think so. I don't know. I have to double check. But yeah, so that was really, really interesting. And I think my past love for this, because of trying to pique our son's interest in, um, even though Hana loves this kind of stuff too, um, in reading and uh, maneuvers and how the world works, and to read and to love it and to know that you can learn from history. I think that that has helped me in this pursuit to find Richard, and these attacks that we have gotten over and over again, and of course, you know, um, from our institutions. So we can't just stand still and let them do this to us. And I think we're at war because I'm seeing a lot of attacks on food production, on our monies, on inflation, of course, because of energy, the attacks on energy, the attacks on food, the attacks on the farmers, the attacks on monies. And, this is an attack on our country. This means we're at war. And sadly, an attack on our active duty service members. Okay. It is an attack on our active duty service members. So, and I believe also in our healthcare, an attack on our healthcare. So we're at war, and so we need to be extra vigilant, and we need to not let them war against us without doing anything. We need to hold these institutions accountable because we have the law behind us. We have um, the Constitution still. We still have the Constitution behind us. So there's so much that we can do. And think about everything that we have exposed since the beginning of this. It's enormous, enormous. So one of the personal things that I wanted to tell everyone about is that I had a trip to the mall with my family, and we were in Dillard's, and we witnessed a huge theft. It was so a man walks into Dillard's and goes to the purses and takes they're like $700 to $1,000 each, the Coach purses, and takes them and puts them on his arm. About 20 of them. I think between 15 and 20 of them. I would say about 10 on each arm. And just started running. And anybody in his way, he moved out of his way. And everybody was screaming. It, it doesn't sound so bad, but when you live through that and you see a grown man, I would say in his 30s, I would say in his 30s, be relegated to theft. Okay? Theft. And theft is crimes against, I looked it up, crimes against moral turpitude. It is, these are crimes that, uh, you know, this person is deceptive. This person you cannot trust. This person has no credibility. Okay? Theft. Theft. When they steal identities, when they steal 20 Coach purses and will run you down. I mean, we were right there, y'all. We were right there. Big guy. I would say 170 to 200 pounds, maybe more, because it was fast. It happened fast. And he would have run over anybody, including the innocent, to get away with stealing 20 Coach purses. And we were all shaken up and everything. And the Dillard's worker that was right there, because, uh, you know, my first instinct was to try to throw my body in front of him so that he would trip, right? That was like my first instinct. I had a counter in front of me. Um, but, she was just this little lady, uh, shaking, absolutely shaking. She said, it's happening all the time now, all the time. And they just get away with it. They just run out. And, I think, I need to make some letters to Dillard's, to them all, complaining. We cannot let this deception, because see, this theft is deception. And when we have deception after deception, when we're allowing this kind of crimes of turpitude, I need to say that 5 times to get it right. Um, these kinds of deception, then we have Leilani Hart's, right? Because the crimes she commits are deception, deceivers. Who's the devil? The deceiver. He deceives. These are, it is so, so serious, y'all. These are serious crimes. And, you might think, oh, it's just Coach bags or whatever. But then they go and sell it on like eBay or whatever. And it's so deceptive, and it ruins these other businesses that do the work, right? He didn't do any work. He didn't get the leather. He didn't do the designing. He didn't make the thread. He didn't make the weave the material for the lining inside. He didn't do the trucking jobs. He didn't do the waitress that was giving the food to the workers that were doing the leather, that were putting the purse together. He didn't do anything. He didn't contribute. And yet he's making this money. It's such a deception. And it's such, if you haven't watched iPencil, you need to watch iPencil, because the work that goes into making a Coach bag is huge. And he is stealing their labor. He's turning their time into slave time. He's, and he's running out, and he doesn't even care if he harms anybody. And we're all shaking. And then the rest of the day we're shaking because we just witnessed this deception. And this is the horror that Leilani Hart brings wherever she goes. This is the horror that was in Hawaii when she was active duty, and the general there in Hawaii was letting her get away with this deception, this destruction, this shaking. No wonder El Paso, all the soldiers that we were meeting were shaking. Even the command sergeant major was shaking. We called him Shaky Jake in the back. Shaky Jake. Why is he shaking? Why is he? Because he knew that Richard was murdered, because he knew that Richard was a whistleblower, because he knew that they were deceiving us. These are crimes of deception. And I hope that makes sense. And, I'm still a little thinking about how we can report that we're not tolerating a grown man coming in and willing to not just steal the purses, but steal the livelihood from hundreds of people. Hundreds of people. The farmers, the tanners, the sewers, the distributors, the designers, all the people, the weavers, all the people that it takes to put a purse like that together. And he just stole it from them. And I believe my son, my husband and I believe this, my son was also stolen from us unlawfully. Okay, I hope, yeah, I'm sorry that I'm burning the midnight oil. I'm very late, but I think that this is really important to get out. And I thank you so much. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on and saying prayers. And, I'll be back tomorrow, God willing. And thank you so much for writing those letters and signing the petition and getting that out to other people. All right, everyone. Good night. Bye bye.